Welcome to lesson 36, and in this lesson we will be drawing an assembly line. So let's get started. Now, assembly line is basically a series of conveyor belts moving objects from one point to another, and while at certain points there will be something done to it, added to it, removed from it, or whatever. So I'm going to use my cube device to make life easier and quicker. I'm going to, let's assume that our assembly line starts here. I'm going to make this smaller so that we have more room and more stuff to put in. Okay. Right, then I'm going to duplicate that. Let's make the assembly line go in this direction. Right, and let's imagine that the conveyor belt goes down a notch or two. So let's bring it down to that one, and we'll connect this one so that it slopes to the last point, or the last well, basically the drop point where everything has been assembled into whatever product we have. So let's put it there. Oh, let's put it there. Great stuff. Let's group that into a single layer, and let's call that cubes. Right. Let's lock that layer and create a new layer on top of everything else. So that's a bit rough, but never mind that. So let's start with the rough drawing. Now let's assume that here is a box, a big box, and out of this box comes the first part of whatever product we make. So it goes to the back. Oh boy, I'm drawing way too rough. Okay. Right, and then maybe there's some tubes coming out of this. Right. You don't have to worry about drawing too rough. You will always clean it up. So this is never the final stage. Your rough drawing is just creating ideas and getting to know, to familiarize yourself with what you want to draw. And this can be rough. It doesn't even need to be isometric. You can rough it out in perspective or on a top view or whatever. Okay, let's bring that down to the conveyor belt. Now the conveyor belt, maybe this is slats and everything goes through those plastic slats. You know those rubber stuffies, that those rubber louvers that hang from the top down, and then as things go through they bend up and the product or whatever comes through. Right, then the conveyor belt. What we can do is just create one segment of the conveyor belt and then duplicate it all over. So this is going to be an easy and quick setup. So maybe this part of the conveyor belt looks something like this. And then the conveyor belt itself comes through there in the middle. We don't see the mechanical parts at the bottom, but they are the same kind of rubber divisions that overlap each other and then goes around. Right, and this section could have a base, so we could, let's do this. Draw it like this, bring it around, and maybe a foot that interconnects with this part again. So I'll clean this up later, so don't worry about that. Just make sure that everything follows your grid. So, and maybe we have a screw or two in there. Right, and then we need a section here where it rotates around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate or copy and paste this part. Bring it forward so that I can interlink those two with each other. Right, so we need this part to come around like this. Okay, duplicate it again. And flip it horizontally. Right, create a new layer. Comes in here like this, and then this needs to follow the curve. And then this needs to follow that. And it needs to do this as well. Okay, if you're struggling, or an easy way to do divisions is start with the middle and then divide that into halves again, and that should be an quick and easy fix or quick and easy drawing to make sure things align. Right, so this one we need to create a section for that one as well, so let's copy that one or just move it forward so that it goes in there. And maybe we take this one and bring it over here. Right, create a new, insert a new layer, brush, and draw that part in. Okay, so now we can use, oh, I forgot to add this. So we need to add legs to this one as well. Where are you? There we go. A leg down there, a leg down there, and we need that one. Let's imagine that this one is the final, so everything drops off there. So we need to finalize this one as well, because we might want to use that in a different way. Let's use that. So let's finish that one as well. And then we need machines in here as well. So robotic arms that can do the work for us. Let's create a new layer, make it a reddish color, for instance, or yellow, orange yellow. Right, so I'm going to draw a machine on this side, or let's do it on that side. So it stands next to this. Right, it's got a base, otherwise it's going to hop and jump around all over the place. Right, at the base there's going to be, so draw another square inside, and then draw your circle, the usual circle we do inside that square. I'm going to copy that circle, bring it up slightly, copy that again, bring that up again, make it slightly smaller. Okay, and then make sure that it's on the same level. Bring it down. So So this is the first machine, or robotic arm. Let's keep that. Let's draw another robotic arm. This time it's going to be in this spot. Let's keep it the orange yellow. I'm just going to make it slightly darker, different. So let's draw it on that square. We'll move it. Just make sure it's on its own layer, then we can move it. Let's add a claw in here. Now, if you look at a robotic arm, it's got a plate like this, right? And connected to that is two fingers like this. Connected to that is two more fingers like this. And you can stop there, but usually there's almost like thumbs at the tip of that, which is rubberized to make the touch soft. So, and we have to draw all of that in isometric. So let's do the first side, that plate that connects the fingers, and we repeat the connecting plate. Then inside of this is the first finger going like that, second finger, we just see a bit of that, and the third knuckle, and then the thumb, or second knuckle and the thumb. So 1, 2, and the thumb. Right. Let's create something that sits on top of the shelf, or the assembly line. Let's put it there. Let's extend this to the outside, because this is a wrapping machine and it's got some special characteristics. On top of this is a frame. Right, let's first draw a square. Okay. Something like that. And inside that square we need a circle. You know what, I'm dumb. I'm not clever. So I've got these cubes, so let's use one of these cubes. Control T, bring that center point to the middle of this circle, while holding Shift, Control and Alt in. Just scale it up to the point where you feel it's the correct size. Back to the drawing. Right, so brush. How these machines work is they've got a nozzle or a bracket here that goes in this in a circle around the package, and as it goes around it wraps it with that clear wrap tape. Okay, right, and then let's extend the frame so it's embedded in the table like this. Okay, we're just going to do a simplified version of it. We're not going to make it too realistic, just to make life easier and quicker. And then we want to duplicate this part here. Control C, Control V, and then move that backward so we give it some thickness. Maybe the machine, the nozzle sits on the inside. Yeah. And then merge that together. Brush B, to complete that, and we've got to have that thickness here as well. So the package coming here. Let's use that. I'll use that now. So we want one of those segments of rectangle. So we want that section. Let's just make sure that the cubes are not selectable. So let's duplicate that, move this over to this part. Then duplicate it again, bring it forward so that we can align stuff. Back to our wrapping machine rough. Okay, brush. Right, so let's assume that the nozzle or the wrapping nozzle device is running inside this groove. So let's make something up. So maybe it's got the tape coming out here attached to another point in the device, and as the package comes through, this thing spins around it and wraps it. Okay, no, let's not do that. Let's be serious. Okay, guys, don't. Let's not be foolish. Right. So just going to give this a little bit more thickness. It's a bit too flimsy. Okay. So we've got a robotic arm, we've got the wrapper, and we still need the conveyor belt that goes downward. So actually we need another section that goes around. So we will need to redraw this one here. So let's put that off because we've got one that goes in this direction. We've got one that goes in that direction, but we don't have one that goes from the back to the front. So this one goes from left to right, right to left. That goes from the back left to right, but we want one that goes in this direction. So let's move this one again. We don't need that one for now. Let's put him that side. Actually, we do need him. Let's put him there for continuation. Right, and let's create a new layer. This time, let's bring up the opacity. This one will need to do this. Come forward and straight. Right and forward. We need another one in here. So it needs to do something like this and do the same on this side. Comes down like this. Oops. And forward. And we give this one legs as well. This one goes round, that one goes back, this one comes to the front, and now we can do one where we have one that goes this way if we duplicate that one. So let me show you. Control T. Let's finish that one first. You know what? We haven't finished this one either. Oh my word. Okay, we'll get to that. Don't you worry. We'll get to that. So we've got this one. Control J, Control T, flip it horizontally. And you'll see that now you can connect this one to that one, and it will go from into that direction. And how easy is that? Let's put that one to the side. We'll finish that one later. What we want to do now is we want to create a section where the belt goes from this to the bottom. So I think let's use this one. Bring it down here. Bring it one forward so that our belt gradually goes down. Okay, so let's insert a new one. Brush B on the keyboard. And I think we need to keep this one low. So let's stick to the floor. And we'll create a version. Maybe we use this one. And delete all of that. Voila. So that section, that part is on the ground or close to the ground. Maybe it could. Okay, you get the. Yeah. All right, let's continue. Yeah. No more playing around. Let's get cracking at it. Let's put all of this. What I want to do now is I want to put all of this separate. So I want to put this separate. I want to separate. Okay, let's keep it together for now. But I want to keep the machines apart from the segments that we want to draw. So let's put the machines in here because we can move the machines later on. So it's not an issue. Let's lower the opacity of this again. Now we can start creating each and every asset for our scene. Okay, so far so good. So we've done the drawing, we've done the coloring. I've placed all of them in their own groups. But what I actually want to do, and you can keep this as separate groups so that you can change the colors later on. So for instance, if this is a bit too yellow green, you can change it to brown green, blue green, whatever. So this gives you the options to change the colors if you keep it in layers. I'm going to merge all of this into its own layer. So I'm not merging everything together, I'm just merging each item so that I don't have line drawings and color beneath it. So okay, let's continue doing that. And now each of them is just a single object with no other layers. Right, so now we can move stuff around. I'm going to put the machines to one side for the moment. We're going to assemble this whole thing now. And this is where the fun part starts. So let's enable our grid layer. So I'm going to delete or just put that layer off for the moment. And let's start with my start point. So let's move that into place like there. Then we want a segment coming out of the machine. So I'm going to put that there. Let's put this to the side. And then I can duplicate however long I want this section to be. So let's do that. No, wrong one. Now I want it to turn. So I'm going to grab this one. But you could also use, no, we need to use that one. Oh, we can use this one. So let's put that to the side. I'm going to duplicate this one. I'm going to change the color slightly to a different hue. Okay. And then Control T, flip it horizontally. And now we've got a section a segment that goes to the front left and one to the front right. Now we can use that segment, put it in here. Just make sure that it's on top. Right, maybe we want to turn things in this direction now. And that's where we need this section. So put it there. And then we can continue. And now you've got an assembly line. So I think we don't need that one. Just put it off or disable it. Now we can use the machines. So let's put one machine there. I'm going to show you how we're going to put this machine on the other side of the assembly line. We just need to get that machine on top of the others. There we go. Right, so let's see. We want to make a selection of this machine. And then we need to find this machine or this robotic arm. And then create a transparency mask. But the transparency masks need to be inverted. So Control I on the keyboard. Okay, don't move this machine now. Let it sit there. All right, so and then what we want to do is we want to group all our machines into one group. So Control G. Let's call those machines. Right, and then let's group all of our assembly line into one group. Control G, and let's call that assembly line. Right, so if we control click the assembly line, all right, let's delete, let's disable the selection. So first select the machines, add a transparency mask, right? Make sure that it is selected, then control click the icon of the assembly line. Make sure that you control click the icon, because if you control click individual layers, it will make individual selections, but when you click the assembly line, the icon of the assembly line, it will select everything within that So all right, so now making sure that you've got the assembly line transparency mask selected, we can do a few things. So I'm going to use my brush tool and just erase. Make sure that your brush is set to default, so press D on the keyboard, which will set it to black and white. And now we can remove this part of this machine so that it sits on top of the other of the assembly line. I'm going to erase this as well, so erase that. And now we need to be careful. Okay, we'll get to that. Erase that part. Right, and now we want to make a selection of this machine, this one, and basically make it unavailable. So what I do is I hold in Control Alt and click on that icon, and now I should be able to erase just this part of that machine. And then Shift Control A to deselect everything. And there we go. One assembly line assembled. And you can play around with this as well. So you can make a selection. So let's use that. Let's take that machine, Control J, move it over here, Control T, flip it horizontally. Right, and then put it right at the top of everything in the assembly line. You could even create a new layer. So let's put it outside of everything. T. Let's move that to there. I'm going to put it right there. Then maybe we put it under the machines, between those two layers. There we go. And now we can start a new assembly line. Let's imagine that there's a diversion into the machine, and we can create a new set of assembly line rails. You get the idea. Let's end that with that as well. We have fabricated a factory for our purpose. Okay, so here's the thing. Now you can change this, add stuff, because you know how to do this. You should be able to create all sorts of other stuff using the same method to create your own assembly line and the diversions. So just keep in mind that you need sections that will divert stuff from this direction to this direction. You will need a section that diverts it from this direction to another direction, and so forth. So if you think clever about it and work it out, you should be able to create all sorts of units or modules for your factory. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and see you in the next one.